Taking us off of mute.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Did you hear that?
live.
Did you hear that?
Seconds will be done. Keith isn't here.
You tell me when we're live.
We are live.
You're live. All right, good morning, everybody. This is the May 12th, 2022 Coastal Permit Administrator hearing. The Mendocino County Coastal Permit Administrator meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation. The provisions of Government Code Section 54953 and recommendation of the Mendocino County Health Officer. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 11 a.m. Can I please get a determination of noticing?
All items have been noticed.
Thank you. So that moves us to our regular calendar. And first item is 3A, which is CDP 2018-0007. This is a continued item from January 13th, 2022. The owner applicant is Vaughn Scott. Agent is Spade Natural Resources Consulting. This is a request for a standard coastal development permit application to remove 400 square foot shed and resolve a code violation for development without prior authorization. It's been determined that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. The project is located within the coastal zone 3± miles north of the town of Mendocino on the west side of State Route 1, located at 16,200 South Highway 1 in Manchester. Assessor's parcel number 132-17007. May I please get a staff report?
Certainly. Juliana Cherry, planner with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. And I would just like to note that I see in the waiting room the applicant's agent, Teresa Spade. So to begin staff's presentation, this is a continued matter. It had initially been considered by the Coastal Permit Administrator at the beginning of the year. And at the applicant's request, the Coastal Permit Administrator continued the matter to May 12th with specific instructions. The applicant filed a revised application in February, and this revised application was referred to agencies and a staff report written and prepared. The revised application is significantly different than the original proposal. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing shed from the property. It is located less than 50 feet from a riparian setting. Staff is very much in support of resolving this on-site violation by removing existing structures and is extremely appreciative that the applicant revised their application and found a suitable solution to the violation of construction of a shed without authorization. On April 22nd, I went to the project site and posted a notice of today's meeting. I also walked the site at that time, and I was not expecting to see an outhouse located in the riparian Isha. So I prepared a memo and am recommending some additional clarification to the findings and the conditions so that the authorization to remove structures from the property includes all unauthorized structures on the property, not just the shed, but also the outhouse. So the memo, I believe was distributed to you earlier this week. Our recommendation at this point is that the Coastal Permit Administrator approve the request to remove the shed and require removal of all other structures on the property. The May 2022 staff report includes 12 recommended conditions and 12 recommended findings and 11 recommended conditions. As the scope of the application materials, including the botanical survey report, does not mention the development within the riparian Isha, the shed, the outhouse. The attachment to the memo lists suggested clarifications to the findings and conditions. The clarifications begin with the preamble just before the findings, and I'd like to read that. Pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 20532 and Chapter 20536 of Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code, the Coastal Permit Administrator approves, we're recommending approval, dismantling and removing of the shed, which is a 400 square feet in size, and storing a refrigerator, beds, sink, range, stove, and roof-mounted solar panels, and all other structures on the property, including an outhouse and any other development located in an environmentally sensitive habitat area. From the property located at 16200 South Highway 1, Manchester. And we recommend adopting the following findings in support of this decision, and recommend the property owner resolve the violation to the satisfaction of Mendocino County Code Enforcement Division. The amended findings are 1, 3, and 4. Really, the amendments to the findings are to clarify it's the shed and other structures that do not have authorization. So I won't read those over specifically unless you'd like me to. And then I'd like to draw your attention to recommended conditions 9, 10, and 11 in the memo, page A3. Within 1 year of the effective date of this permit, the shed, outhouse, and all other materials stored on site or associated with the structures shall be removed from the property. Any development located within the surveyed environmentally sensitive habitat areas or their buffers shall be removed from the property. 9A, within 30 days of the effective date of this permit, the property owner shall apply for a building permit to demolish the shed, outhouse, and any other unauthorized structures. 9B, prior to the conclusion of the initial effective period of this permit, the property owner shall demonstrate to Mendocino County Code Enforcement staff that violations have been resolved to the satisfaction of the county. Recommended condition 10. In accordance with MCC Chapter 20456, 20.472, and 20.532, and prior to storing vehicles on site, the property owner shall obtain a coastal development permit or permit amendment. The property recommended condition 11 refers to the recommendations of the botanical survey report, and reads, the property owner shall observe the avoidance measures and procedures detailed in section 0.6.2 of the Wildlife Scoping Survey, Botanical Survey, Point Arena Mountain Beaver Survey, and Wetland Delineation Report prepared by Spade Natural Resource Consulting and dated January 25, 2019, including, and then I list the various sections of the report. Just before I summarize, I'd like to just point out a couple of things from the staff report. The shed where it exists is less than 50 feet from a riparian Isha. The outhouse is within the vegetation associated with that riparian setting. And the property owner does want to be able to continue camping, and our code does allow for some exemptions or exclusions from obtaining a permit. And on page 3 of the staff report, that exclusion is shown. temporary camping utilizing 6 or less tents or recreational vehicles for 14 days or less in any 6-month period shall be exempt from the provisions of temporary camping. That does not include storing a vehicle on site. It does not include use of utilities or creating opportunities for solid waste to be stored on the property. But they are more than welcome to camp 14 days out of any 6-month period. So then also in the staff report, I discussed the regulations regarding storage of accessory structures, including storage of vehicles. Accessory structures are often exempt from coastal development permits, except for when a principal land use has not been established. At this property, no land use has been established, so the storing of a vehicle or construction of a shed requires a coastal development permit. If you have questions, I am available. I also have some photographs from when I was at the site. And I'm happy to share them if you would like. Thank you very much.
So I am interested in if you do have a photo that shows a general overview of the site.
I think that do you mean like an aerial image or?
No, I mean, if you've got a photo that shows where these structures are located and so on, just to give me an idea.
Okay, so I do have some and I will open them up. Let's see here.
I just want to get an idea for what's on the ground.
Right. I just need to share screen. It'll just take me a moment. All right. So here is an image of highway of the site. It's the gate where I posted the notice, and you can see on the right there is, I won't call it a road, compacted soil, which really is a vehicle access route. And here at the base is some of those thickets that consist of that riparian isha. And just past this rise is where the shed is located. Let's see what other pictures I have. A picture from inside the shed, a couple of pictures from inside the shed. This is just outside the shed in the thickets is a barbecue. This I walked farther west. That compacted soil actually goes all the way to the shore. That vehicle access easement goes all the way to the shore. And I just crossed over that easement, and there was this beautiful waterfall running. Here you can see that compacted road going all the way to Manchester Beach, and the steepness of the ravine along the northern property boundary.
Okay, great,
And,
thank you.
I just one
That gives
last.
me an idea.
And here's the shed. The first photo I had pointed out the willows. Here's the shed, and Highway 1 is here in the background. So it's not possible to see the shed from Highway 1.
Okay, that's what I
All
was
right.
after, is whether or not you could see it, so.
Yeah, no, it's nicely hidden from the highway.
All right, great, thank you. That pretty much addresses my concerns. So at this point, I'd like to bring the applicant in, or the applicant's representative. Hello, Teresa.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So I'm gonna turn it over to you now.
All right. I want to thank Juliana for preparing the staff report. I believe that we are in agreement and find the recommendations reasonable for what it is. You know, I do want to say a couple things. One of the things is that, of course, the preference would have been to keep the shed there. However, because of financial reasons, that is just not possible. So the applicant has decided to take this route as the path of least resistance. Those changes were posted. However, My recollection, and I might be wrong, but my recollection is that early on in the process, it was identified that there was an outhouse in the brush out there, and there was some conversation about approval through environmental health and how that wasn't going to be possible and how there would need to be plumbing and things like that. And my remembrance from that time was that the discussion just sort of ended at that it would be removed. And again, I'm not finding those conversations, but that is kind of my memory from I don't know, years ago, when I first became part of this project. So based on that memory and just based on the reasonableness that, you know, the assumption is that if you were to be removing structures as unpermitted, that of course the outhouse, which is not approved by environmental health, would also need to come out, would be reasonable. So that said, I believe that we are agreeable to the conditions, and I'm here for any questions if you have them.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So do we have anybody from the public? Because I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing on this.
If you are present and in the waiting room and you have called in and would like to speak on this project, please hit *9 on your phone to raise your hand, and I will move you into the meeting and allow you to participate speaking. Or if you are on a computer and would like to raise your hand, I'm not seeing any hands, so I'm going to assume that no one is interested in speaking on this matter.
Okay, just going to give it a few more seconds because the public hearing is open and I'm entertaining comments from the public. Doesn't look like anybody is here for this item to speak on this item, so I'm going to return it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. And after listening to the presentation and listening to the applicant's agent, it sounds like everybody's in agreement, and I'm going to go ahead and move to approve this item, subject to the conditions and findings in the memo dated May 12th, 2022, addressing the changes that look at all of the structures being removed and so on. So Teresa, this project is approved now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. That moves us to item 3B, which is the boundary line adjustment number B 2021-0058. The owner is Max Ballantyne and Vinit Jaggi et al. The agent is Richard Seal, and the request is a coastal development boundary line adjustment to reconfigure the boundaries between two lots in Anchor Bay. Lot 1 is APN 144-035-06, will decrease to 0.24 plus or minus acres, and Lot 2, which is APN 144-035-07, will decrease to 0.33 acres. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. The project is located within the coastal zone in the community of Anchor Bay, lying on the east side of Highway 1, State Route 1, 730 plus or minus feet east of its intersection with Ocean View Avenue, located at 46,841 and 46,851 Ocean View Way in Anchor Bay. Assessor's parcel number 144-035-06 and 07. Now please get a staff report.
Yes, thank you, CPA Gonzalez. This is Planner Crowley presenting the staff report for CDP 2021-0058. Just before I begin, I want to make a small clarification to the request as it appears in the agenda. How it reads right now, Lot 1 would decrease to 0.24 acres and Lot 2 would also decrease to 0.33 acres. it should read that lot 1 will decrease to 0.24 acres and lot 2 will increase to 0.34 acres. So this is a pretty small boundary line adjustment. It would transfer about 160 square feet from lot 1 to lot 2. As mentioned, staff has determined the project is categorically exempt. And staff has found that the project as conditioned is consistent with the certified LCP and the Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code, as noted in the staff report. On December 1st, 2021, the project was referred to various responsible agencies for comment on the project. No critical comments were received. The project was reviewed by the subdivision committee on May 12, 2022, at which time the committee made recommendations of approval to the CPA, and no conflicts with County Division of Land Regulations were identified at the meeting. So thus, staff recommends that the CPA approve the coastal development boundary line adjustment based on the facts and findings in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant or the applicant's representative online?
If you are here representing this project, please raise your hand.
Mr. Steele, are you on?
I do not see.
All
If
right.
you are calling in, you press *9 to raise your hand, and I will move you into the meeting and allow you to speak.
Doesn't look like anybody's here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to the CPA and open up the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? This is the time to do so, and if so, please identify yourselves and or raise your hand, or *9 to unmute yourself. Doesn't appear that anybody is online to speak on this item. So I'll bring it back to the CPA, and based on the evidence provided here on this matter, I will go ahead and approve the project subject to the conditions and the findings contained in the staff report. So this item is approved. Okay, that brings us to item 3C, CDP 2021-007. The owner applicant is Aaron Simpson and Jonah Shipley. Agent is Kelly Grimes, architect. The request is a standard coastal development permit for an addition to the upstairs garage storage area with adjoining small balcony and convenience half bath, as well as the conversion of an existing office space into a family care unit. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. It is located in the coastal zone 2 ± miles north of the town of Mendocino, 2,000 ± feet east of the Pacific Ocean on the south side of Cypress Drive, 430 ± feet from the closest intersection with Bishop Lane, located at 45,201 Cypress Drive in Mendocino. Assessor's parcel number is 118-23025. May I please get a staff report?
Thank you, CPA Gonzalez. This is staff planner Stephen Schweitzer. As previously stated, the applicant and their agent propose an addition to the upstairs garage storage area with adjoining small balcony and convenience half bath, as well as the conversion of an existing office space into a family care unit. Staff has determined the project is categorically exempt from further environmental review under CEQA, and the proposed project is consistent with the goals and policies of the local coastal program, general plan, and zoning code as detailed in the key issues section of the staff report. I would like to state on the record that staff did receive revised plans regarding the upstairs garage storage area, and considering referral agencies providing comments on a project request containing accommodations for a full bath in the upstairs garage storage area intended for use by guests and occupants of the primary dwelling unit classified as a use of a guest cottage, the current convenience half bath addition was not re-referred out. since it is of lesser intensity and not intended for habitation. Mendocino County Division of Environmental Health did provide comments and recommended conditions of approval that are summarized in the report. Staff concurs with these comments, and standard conditions 4 and 5, as well as added condition 15, are recommended to ensure the proposed project's consistency with environmental health regulations. On a closing note, staff is recommending that CPA Gonzalez approve the standard coastal development permit in accordance with the findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report. Both the applicant and their agent have been provided the staff report and made aware of the conditions of approval. Staff planner is available for further questions.
Thank you very much. So do we have the applicant or the applicant's agent online? I saw a hand raised.
I believe Kelly is here.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Director Gonzalez and Planner Schweitzer. Thank you very much for an excellent report. And I don't have really anything to add to it. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the applicant side that wishes to speak on this matter?
I think the applicant's traveling, so she's not available today.
Okay, great. So you're completely representing the applicant today.
Correct.
All right, thank you. So with that, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter?
If you would like to speak and you're calling in, press star 9 to raise your hand.
Do not see anybody. All right, so I'll return it back to the CPA, close the public hearing on this matter. And with that, thanks everybody for looking at all the issues and so on, and I don't see any issues with this particular request. So I am going to go ahead and move to approve this case, CDP 2021-007, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the staff report. Thank you very much. Kelly,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That moves us to item 3D, which is CDP 2021-0026. Owner applicant is T. Bruce, I'm going to say Lickberg. Agent is Carl Ritterman. The request is a standard coastal development permit to replace an existing leach lines with new piping, as the existing pipes are clogged with roots. No new leaching trenches will be constructed. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. It is located in the coastal zone 1.93 plus minus miles northwest of Mendocino Town Center on the west side of Cypress Drive, 0.28 plus minus miles southwest of its intersection with Bishop Lane, located at 45,680 Cypress Drive in Mendocino. Assessor's parcel number 118230-06. May I please get a staff report?
Thank you, Commissioner. Coastal Permit Administrator Gonzalez. This parcel is developed with a single-family residence and a detached carport, and it is a bluff-top parcel. It's surrounded by single-family uses to the north, south, and east, and the project was found to be consistent with the local coastal program, and it is not mapped as a highly scenic area, and all the required findings have been made regarding the project, and as you noted here earlier, it is categorically exempt. It was referred out to applicable agencies with just a minor comment from environmental health. And planning staff did go out on site and took photos of the location if the administrator would like to see those,
Yes, I would.
and a site plan. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. So the system hasn't failed yet. It's just about to fail.
Right, the lines are clogged.
All right. Well, do we have the applicant or the applicant's agent online?
If you're present and would like to represent this project, please raise your hand. If you're calling in, press star 9.
Nope. Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this and welcome members of the public that wish to speak on this matter.
Again, please raise your hand if you would like to speak. If you're calling in, please press star 9.
Seeing none, I'll return it back to the CPA. So thank you very much for the presentation, and yeah, this is a matter that should be addressed fairly quickly, especially when you have the potential for a failing leach line system. So I'll go ahead and move to approve the project, find that it's categorically exempt, approve it subject to the findings and conditions contained in the staff report after hearing all the evidence. So this item is approved. Okay, that brings us to case number 3E, which is CDP 2021-0027. The owner is Pacific Gas and Electric Company and Philip K. and Richard Mitchell. Applicant is Pacific Gas and Electric. And the agent is Odie Bernstein, Pacific Gas and Electric. And the request is a standard coastal development permit to remove major vegetation. It says i.e. 66 trees and other vegetation, and satisfy fire safe standards within 50 feet of the perimeter fence at the PG&E substation in Elk. Project has been determined to be categorically exempt. It is located in the coastal zone and the village of Elk on the north side of Philo Greenwood Road, 0.25 plus minus miles east of the intersection with State Route 1, located at 35,720 Philo Greenwood Road in Elk. Assessor's parcel number 127232-12, 127220-03, 127232-027, 127232-16, 127-15001. May I please get a staff report?
Hello, Juliana Cherry, planner with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. Before I begin the presentation, I would just like to note 2 of the attendees are representing the application. Adam Ross from PG&E, and then the phone number ending in the 4 digits 4150 is Jeanette Dinwindle Moore, also with PG&E. So this is a project to remove trees, not on the substation property, but on the property surrounding the substation. 66 trees are proposed to be removed. And last week, when I met with the applicant to go over staff's recommendations, we realized that the site plan that I had was not the most current site plan. We also discussed some of the 2 or 3 of the conditions, and the applicant made some recommendations regarding categorical exemptions under CEQA. So it's a fairly standard, the recommendations are fairly standard to approve. The project is consistent with our LCP policies, like our visual resource policies. It's in a highly scenic area. It's consistent with our hazard policies. It's the project is actually intended to reduce hazards associated with potential wildfires. But there are multiple property owners involved because the vegetation removal, the vegetation is directly adjacent to the substation in Elk. 66 trees. But we did discover that some trees on the K property, which is just west of the substation, will be retained and they will not be trimmed. So that in the memo is something that I clarify under item B, the first page of the memo. So the trees numbered 11, 13, 14, 18, 23, and 26 will not be trimmed and they will not be removed. In fact, no trimming is proposed. Then on another parcel, a parcel that is owned by Richard Mitchell, which is a property to the east of the substation, PG&E owns the property to the north of the substation. On Richard Mitchell's property, one tree was indicated to be trimmed and that is not going to be trimmed. And then another tree nearby, which is on the homeowners association property to the south of the substation, and it's identified as tree number 1. That tree would be removed. It's 22 inches diameter at breast height and a Douglas fir. Attached to the memo presented today to the CPA is at the very last is attachment B, and this lists all the 85 trees that were surveyed on the property and includes an aerial image of the property. That's page M9 of the memo. And you can see on that exhibit M9, the substation's in the middle and the top of the page that's to the north. Those trees along the fence line will be removed, as well as the trees along the east side of the property. I'm sorry, the north side of the property, which is on the right side of the page. Those are PG&E property, and they're going to be removing many of those trees along, so that's north. So then on the east, which is the bottom side of the page, that's the Mitchell property. Trees will be removed there. So that exhibit in the memo on page M9 represents the trees that will be removed in red, and the trees that will remain are labeled with a green color. In reviewing the staff report with the applicant, they suggested an additional class 4 exemption under CEQA. And the project does meet the criteria for a categorical exemption from CEQA class section 15304I. And this includes fuel management activities within a certain distance of structures to reduce the volume of flammable vegetation. So staff supports that suggestion and recommends including that in the action today. The recommendation, the revised recommendation is covered on page 2 of the memo. And so there are about 3 conditions that are specific to this project. Condition 11 talks about PG&E would like to partner with a local community group to fund a replacement planting of trees. This is not a mitigation measure. This is PG&E being generous. They're removing 66 trees from the community of Elk, and they would like to fund planting of 66 replacement trees within Mendocino County's coastal area and hopefully within Elk. As of last Friday, PG&E were still actively talking with the Community Service District in Elk, and I believe the Greenwood Homeowners Association to see if there was an appropriate local to Elk community group that would accept funds for the planting of replacement trees. It's a 1-for-1 replacement tree. So condition 11, we're clarifying because I kind of put a placeholder in the staff report. And the clarification would be the applicant shall partner with a local community agencies such as the Elk Community Service District or Greenwood Homeowners Association and provide funding for a 1-to-1 tree replacement at an off-site location, which would provide a community benefit in preserving the forested areas near Elk, an unincorporated community in Mendocino County. Condition 12, we had also talked quite a bit about the effect of removing 66 trees and what would it look like when the project was done. Would it be 66 tree stumps standing above ground? Would they remove the root balls or what? And so there's a difference between root balls, which are the roots of the tree underground, and a tree stump, which can be ground or cut to the ground level or just below grade. There's a great deal of ground disturbing activity when you remove a root ball from a tree, whereas just grinding the stump to grade or slightly below grade, considerably less ground disturbing activity. And we were not anticipating any ground disturbing activity, either the county staff or the applicant. So we have clarified condition 12 to reflect that. But there is some concern sometimes when the contractors come out to do this work for PG&E, their understanding of the scope of the project isn't quite consistent with what the property owner's expectations are. So we wanted to include a caveat that the work would be completed to the satisfaction of the coastal permit administrator or their designee. And it's the applicant's responsibility to make arrangements for county staff or the CPA to come to the site and determine that the work is completed to their satisfaction. So condition 12, the staff is revising, would be revised to read, the applicant is authorized to fell and remove 66 trees, subject to the on-site review and approval by the coastal permit administrator or their designee. The stumps will be ground at or below grade level and the roots may remain. The applicant may chip the vegetation and distribute the chip on-site or distribute it to coastal Mendocino community. I imagine that there might be a great deal of chip associated with this project, and I think that it's likely that the community around Elk would be happy to take that chip and add it to their garden. There's also available nearby DR Beacon's property just down the road is approved to accept this kind of material. I believe the applicant is also talking with the Community Services District to see if they would like to accept the material for distributing amongst the coastal community. And then finally, condition 13, really after we had made the revisions to 11 and 12, 13 really seemed redundant and perhaps less relevant. So staff is now recommending that condition 13 not be adopted. I think it's a good project. I'm excited to see that PG&E wants to do some vegetation management and reduce fire hazards along our coastal communities. And I'm just delighted to recommend that the coastal permit administrator approve this project with the revised recommended findings and conditions.
Thank you. With that said, the applicants, go ahead and ask that the applicants join in. And this is your opportunity to speak on the project.
There's also Adam Ross in the attendees. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Thank you. Nothing more to add. We just want to thank Juliana for being just so great and getting us to this point. I have been in talks with the Greenwood Meadows Homeowners Association. They've agreed to on preliminary for us to redistribute some funds to them. I haven't heard back from the Community Services District yet. But we are working on that, and that would be and we're in favor of that condition. And there are a few more of us on the line on via phone. So if you have any questions for us, we're ready to answer them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else from your group that wishes to speak on this matter?
That I don't know yet. I think we're okay, and we can respond to any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question for staff, considering that it involves the removal of 66 trees. Did we receive any correspondence from the public on this matter?
No, I was actually kind of surprised that we did not, and I suspect it might be that those most impacted are the property owners who are the applicants. Right, there's 4 or 5 property owners that are involved with this because the trees will be removed from their property. I also think that K, the property to the west of the substation, negotiated retaining several trees on their property with PG&E, and I think that was a good decision.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter on opening up the public hearing?
While we're waiting for that, I can add that I did take some pictures of the site, if you'd like to see them.
I'll hold off on that because I'm actually familiar with the site. It wasn't too long ago that I drove over that road and drove by the substation.
Right, it's right there up against the road.
Yep. Doesn't look like we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter. Okay, so I'll return it back to the CPA. And based on the evidence provided, and again, I'm surprised nobody has submitted any public comments on this, but I will go ahead and move to approve the project, subject to the conditions of approval, as well as the findings contained in the original staff report, as well as the modifications to the conditions contained in the memo dated May 12th.
Conditions and findings.
Correct. And the revised findings contained on page M3, and the revised conditions of approval following on
M6.
M4 and M5 and M6. And I would say also thank you for the aerial that shows and depicts where the trees are, as well as the spreadsheet that shows the trees to be removed. So the project is approved, subject to those modifications and changes. Thank you very much. Okay, that moves us to item CDP 2021-0033. Owner applicant is John Krusik. The request is a standard coastal development permit to construct a 1,440 square foot accessory building to be used as a garage, workshop, and personal storage. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. Project is located in the coastal zone, 3.45 plus minus miles southwest of Fort Bragg, lying on the west side of State Route 1. 490 plus minus feet south of its intersection with Kirtland Way, located at 17,403 Ocean Drive in Fort Bragg. Assessor's parcel number 017-310-71. May I please get a staff report?
Yes, you may. Thank you, Administrator. Project Planner Matt Goins. The garage/workshop is an accessory structure that is incidental and subordinate to the primary residential use in the rural residential zoning district. The project is compliant with all general plan and zoning regulations pertaining to this project location and use, including all pertinent local coastal plan policies. There are no significant agency referral comments for this project. The project does not contain an abundance of known sensitive resources or habitats, and much of the concerns that can occur within the coastal zone will not be applicable to the project due to the geographic location of the project. Staff finds that this project is consistent with the findings as stated in the staff report, and with adherence to conditions of approval, staff recommends approval of this project.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant or the representative online?
No, John won't be, he's not calling in.
All right. So at this point, I'll go ahead and ask, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? I'm opening up the public hearing.
If you are present for this project, please raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. If you're calling in, please press star 9 to raise your hand.
Okay, don't see anybody. So with that, I'll return it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. And based on the evidence provided in the staff report, I'll go ahead and move to approve the project pursuant to the findings contained in the staff report as well as the recommended conditions of approval. So this item is approved. All right, this brings us to the last item, 3G. CDP 2021-0042, owner applicant is James Schmidt and Kristen Williams. The agent is J. Andres. Request is a standard coastal development permit for major vegetation removal of 2.9 acres of trees for a planned single-family residence, view shed enhancement, and associated development. The project has been determined to subject to a mitigated negative declaration, or CEQA. Property is located in the coastal zone, 1 mile northeast of Mendocino, 0.35 plus minus miles north of the intersection of Gurley Lane and Little Lake Road, located at 11,100 Gurley Lane, Mendocino, assessor's parcel number 119-020-35. And please get a staff report.
Yes, thank you. This is Planner Crowley presenting the staff report. As previously stated, the applicant proposes to remove 2.9 plus minus acres of trees from the project site. Staff prepared an initial study for the project pursuant to CEQA and found that there were potentially significant impacts on the environment centered on biological resources. However, staff found that with mitigation incorporated, these impacts would remain below the thresholds of significance, and therefore a mitigated negative declaration was prepared. And staff has found that the project as conditioned is consistent with the certified LCP and the Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code. On December 3rd, 2021, the project was referred to various responsible and trustee agencies for comment on the project. Any comments that triggered project modification or conditions of approval are discussed in full in the published staff report. And a biological survey was provided by the applicant, and staff conducted a site visit with a representative from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The biological survey concluded that no environmentally sensitive habitat area occurred on site, but that there were nevertheless potential impacts to listed species, which could be sufficiently mitigated through recommended avoidance measures. CDFW agreed, and staff recommends adopting these avoidance measures as conditions of approval. Now, CDFW imposes a filing fee for mitigated negative declarations that are prepared, and this filing fee is normally captured as a standard condition of approval. However, this was not included within the staff report that was prepared, so staff has prepared a memo to address this condition of approval. The memo is dated May 3rd, 2022, and that is simply to add condition number 12, which includes.
Thank you. And I guess my question is, did we receive any correspondence on this matter?
From the public?
From the public, yes.
I did receive one phone call from a property owner that was down the road a little ways, but he didn't have any concerns about the project. I notified him of all the avenues that he can, provide any public comments at the hearing, but he didn't seem to have any issues.
Okay. Anybody else that may have submitted something in writing?
No other public comments that I
Okay.
received.
Great, thank you. So do we have the applicant or the representative online?
Yes, we do.
Hi, I'm Kristen Williams. My husband Jimmy and I are the owners of 11100 Gurley Lane. Thank you, Planner Crawley, for preparing our report. We are hoping to do a CAL FIRE less than 3 acre conversion, which is why we're applying for the CDP for major vegetation removal. Outside of this permit, we're also working towards plans for a single family residence. I grew up on the coast and I'm a 3rd generation resident of Mendocino. And I'm excited to be moving back home to raise my own family. For the past decade, I've been living in the Bay Area, where I'm the director of habitat restoration at a land stewardship nonprofit. I'm looking forward to bringing my professional experience back home to the coast. Thank you all for your time today. Jimmy and I are happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this matter from the applicant's side? Okay, don't see anybody else asking to speak on this matter. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and ask, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter?
Please raise your hand to indicate that you would like to speak on this matter.
Don't see anybody. All right, so I'll return it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. And after reviewing the...
It looks like there's one of their representatives.
Oh,
the
go
agent
ahead.
would like to speak.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm the agent for the owners, and I'm just here to answer any questions. Thank you guys for your time. I'm more working on the future development, so if you have any questions that lead that way, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, don't have any members of the public that wish to speak on this other than the applicants. And I'm assuming the applicants are all in favor of the conditions. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to approve the project and adopt the mitigated negative declaration as presented. And again, finding that well, all the required findings have been made and there are conditions of approval. So I'm approving this project subject to the findings of fact and the conditions of approval contained in the staff report, as well as the memo dated 5/3/22, adding condition number 12. So with that, the project is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us to item number 4, matters from staff. Do we have any matters from staff? Anybody? I don't see anybody jumping up. Okay, so moving on, do we have any matters from the public? Anybody from the public wish to speak on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll go to item number 6, which is adjournment. So I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 11:57 a.m. Thank you very much.